Alrighty, so News of the Week episode on this Wednesday afternoon, and yes, I'm back doing News of the Week episode on a Wednesday, as it used to be the case during the regular season, and there was definitely some big news that came out of MLS, especially regarding to the All Star Game, as it was announced that the 2024 MLS All Star Game will be taking place at Lower.com Field in Columbus. Now, this is not a big surprise, consider I have a feeling MLS is pretty much set in these next couple of years of where the All Star game is going to be, because it's pretty clear that they're going to be picking sites that are stadiums that just recently built. I mean, I won't be surprised in these next couple of years. We might see the All Star game in Nashville. We might see it in St. Louis. We might even see it in the other Ohio city in Cincinnati with TKO Stadium, because all of those stadiums have just recently built. And heck, with San Diego coming into the league and playing at Snapdragon Stadium, I won't be surprised that site might be a host of the All Star game in the near future too. But my point is basically, with just so many new stadiums that's been built in the past couple of years, MLS have pretty much already kind of had an idea of where they're going to be hosting these games. And this is also where, if you are a team that unfortunately are playing it in a bit of an older stadium, or stadium that are built back in the MLS 1.0 era, well, unfortunately, you're probably not going to host the All Star game anytime soon. With the way that all these new buildings are being built, and that MLS is definitely going to choose those sites as the All Star game in the future. Now, the other thing I will also say about the MLS All Star in 2024, I won't be surprised this might be one of the most expensive All-Star game, and probably one of the most anticipated All-Star game that we've ever seen, because you know that guy called Lionel Messi that's going to go to Inter Miami? Yeah, most likely he is going to play in this All-Star game. Actually, it's not most likely. It's definitely he's going to do it. Like, if he's not voted in or picked by a head coach, you know Don Gabbard is going to make sure that of course, is going to be the case. So, with Messi playing in this All-Star game, knowing tickets prices are just incredibly expensive of his highly anticipated debut against Cruz Azul in the League Cup that Inter Miami has had. Yeah, I think tickets prices are going to be really expensive. Though I won't mind if I'm going to pay for that ticket, if I pay for those the ticket prices, because I really enjoyed going to the All Star game in Minnesota just a year ago. And if I have a chance to see some of the best player and Messi there in an All Star game, sign me up. Even if it's going to cost me like $500 and $600, and going to Columbus is not going to be easy. Consider there's really no direct flights that actually goes to Columbus, but it's still a good site to host this All Star game. And this would be the second consecutive All Star game that will be host in a team that were the original members that came into the league in '96. This is also so we could have the discussion of the opponent that I know they're not going to announce it until in these next couple of months, but why not just go back to the East versus West format? Like, I thought this year was going to be a perfect way to do so, knowing that they're going to DC, one of the original team and a historic team in MLS. I feel like they could have just gone back to it this year, but we'll see whether they do go back to it next year too, or is it just going to be another glorified friendly against a European team? And before somebody say, well, why don't they go back to the MLS All Star versus Liga MX All Star? I don't think they're gonna do that anymore, considering there's just way too many meaningful tournament, like the Leeds Cup and also the Campeones Cup that was also announced. That's gonna happen. There's just so many MLS versus Liga MX kind of competition that it just feels like it's overdone. Done it if they want to have another MLS versus Liga MX All Star game. Now, speaking of All Star, the All Star roster was also announced yesterday, and I will make a video after when I finish the News of the Week episode talk about the All Star roster. And it's kind of interesting because there are a lot of young guys in this All Star roster, and there's definitely some guys that I can say that they probably got snubbed in terms of being as an All Star, and some very questionable picks in terms of making it to the All Star this season in DC. But like I said, I'll talk more about it when I do that video right after when I finish the News of the Week episode. And then just a minute ago, or a couple of minutes ago, when I was writing this board, I have got news that it is official that Inter Miami have hired Tata Martino as their new head coach. Now, I'm not going to go too much into this one because we all already knew that this was going to happen, and it's great to see Tata Martino being back with an MLS team, I'm pretty sure Atlanta fans are going to be even more jealous now. The fact that it feels like Inter Miami, at first they stole though probably the most beloved player in Joseph Martinez, and now they stole our head coach. So they probably are a little bit mad the fact that the guy that bought them all the success, and the guy that to this day really built what Atlanta United is and what Atlanta trying to get back to the era that they were under Tata Martino was. They were probably not happy that Inter Miami basically hired him, but obviously I think this is going to be tougher job for Tata Martino coming into a team that I know they're going to have Lionel Messi and also his friends and in this team. But when you even looking at this Inter Miami team, I mean, Messi will definitely help in terms of the attack, but what about the defense? I mean, that is a huge question, and also the midfield too. Though Sergio Busquets coming in, I think that's going to help. I mean, unless if Messi maybe decided to ask if some of his former teammate that are defender in this team to come to this team as well. I still have a lot of question in terms of the defense in this Inter Miami team, and it also doesn't help the fact that they've just announced that Franco Negri has gone to the the or the IL because of an injury that he's suffering. He's going to be there for a while. So yeah, again, this is a monument task for Tata Martino to trying to turn this team around. And with the way that they're sitting at the bottom of the Eastern Conference, they're still way out in terms of where they need to get even into the ninth place spot, the wild card spot into the playoffs. It's going to be a daunting task, and we'll see whether or not if he can, of course, do so. I mean, I don't expect him to replicate what he did with Atlanta United and play that brilliant brand of soccer, though I have a feeling that could be the case, especially when you have the GOAT like Lionel Messi is on the wheel. But still, it's going to be interesting to see in this row now that he's guiding a team that are just so bad this season. Can he guide this team into playoffs with the help of Messi and his team former teammate? Now, Minnesota United have announced they have signed Tumu Puki as a DP off of free agency. Now, I'm not going to mention too much about this either because it's pretty obvious that, I know some Loons fans were a little bit skeptical that they would pull this signing off, but I thought it was going to happen, and it finally happened. And although I know Timu Puki is not the same player that he was with Norwich a couple of years ago, I think he is a guy that could finally be the answer in terms of that number 9 spot. Like, it feels like ever since Christian Ramirez left this team on a bit of a sour note, he's pretty much put a curse on this team where this team just are not allowed to have a number 9 that can be a lethal goal scored. And the closest one I would say is probably Luis Maria last season, but he of course didn't go so well this season to a point where he eventually was phased out. And I'm hoping that might not be the same case with Timo Pukki. Though again, when I look at this Minnesota attack, this attack is very good. The only issue with this attack is obviously they're not putting the goals. I mean, if you also want to talk about expectancy goal, they must be one of the highest team in terms of underperforming their expectancy goal ratio. And again, I'm not really quite sure that's the case because I usually don't pay attention to that aspect of the analytics. But again, I think the other thing I like what Minnesota does here is that they actually only signed Timu Puki on a 2-year contract. Now, some might say why they only give him a short term contract. He's 33, and his rate is going his goal scoring rate. I think could continue probably for another year or two, but it's gonna start to decline. So I do like the fact that they decided to give him a 2-year contract, and knowing the fact that previous known number 9 that have came into this team and have failed spectacular, they don't want to take too much risk that what if Timu Puki did ran out of gas and they're not scoring the goals that they want him to do. But either way, I think he is going to generate the goal. I mean, this is Timu Puki. We're talking about a guy that has scored a bunch of goals in the Premier League and was pretty much the most lethal goal scorer in the championship a couple of years ago with Norwich City. I think this is a great signing for Minnesota, and I can't wait to see the Pookie party that is going to be happening and watching him play throughout his time with Minnesota United. Now, that's actually not the only designated player that's been signed week. Apparently, the Chicago Fire have decided to sign a designated player by the names of Osman Dum, Dumepia. I think that's how you say it. As a DP from FC Lugano, and it's actually going to be a loan deal. Now, obviously, it's not a big surprise that Chicago Fire decided to sign another player from FC Lugano because FC Lugano is kind of almost like a parent club for the Chicago Fire, knowing the fact that Greg Hitz has a lot of connection with FC Lugano. But this signing is kind of an odd one, knowing the fact that it's an older midfielder that hasn't really break into the Ivorian national team, and you decided to give him a DP contract to do that. I mean, it's a very strange one. I mean, I think when you look at this Fire team, there's definitely some more needs than just a midfielder on this team, especially on a DP contract like that. But we'll see whether or not, of course, this of course will work out. Remember, this is only a loan deal, so if it doesn't work out, they don't have to buy him permanently there, and I think maybe that's kind of the safe bet in terms of the deal. But from what I heard, not a lot of people, even Chicago Fire fans, are happy with this signing. They think that this is just another typical signing of a front office that they definitely wants to their team to eventually make a change to the front office, because all the signings that they made in the last couple of years, no matter if it's a marquee signing or well-known player signings that's come to this team like Xherdan Shaqiri, it has not worked whatsoever for the Chicago Fire team. Now, there's a report suggesting that Borussia Mönchengladbach is interested in signing Brandon Vasquez to from FC Cincinnati this summer. I don't know why I wrote you there. They of course are looking to sign Brandon Vasquez from FC Cincinnati, but either way, I don't think this is going to happen. I mean, if you're FC Cincinnati, with the way that they're leading the Supporters Shield race, and they are definitely the odds-on favorite to win the Supporters Shield this season and potentially go deep into the playoffs, I don't think Cincinnati is going to sell off their best asset, at least to the end of the season. I mean, I think Chris Albright is going to be pretty smart about this. He's not gonna be like, he already sold off a big asset in Brenner there. I don't think there's any needs to sell off even more bigger asset like the likes of Brandon Vasquez. And while Vasquez definitely did not have as a prolific season as he had last season, he still means a lot to the Cincinnati team, especially in that ninth position. So again, I don't think this is going to happen unless if Borussia Mönchengladbach is going to put an offer that Cincinnati can simply can't refuse to deny. I don't think they're going to get rid of Brandon Vasquez this summer, especially with the good form that they're in this year. Now, DC United is in talk to get former Everton midfielder Gylfi Sigurdsson. Now, this is also another interesting one, but also kind of an odd one too. I mean, I get that the reason why Wayne really want to get Gylfi Sigurdsson is that he's trying to sign all his former teammate or players that he coached from Derby County. But this is kind of a weird one because when you look at that I mean, they just recently got Lewis O'Brien, and while it's only on a loan deal, I won't be surprised they might extend his loan deal, because I think O'Brien has brought some good things to this DC team. Especially he has an knack in terms of scoring some banger kind of goals. So the fact that he's already doing well with DC, why do they need to decide to get another midfielder in Gylfi Sigurdsson, who he's definitely way past his prime. Like, I know that Gylfi Sigurdsson, he was a guy that is well known because of that Icelandic team, made it to the World Cup in 2018 and then the Euros in 2016. But he's pretty much washed up with the way that he hasn't really been playing full time for the last couple of years. It just feels weird that if this signing is going to happen, though I guess maybe this could be used for depth reason. But when you look at this midfield for DC, I think they have plenty of depth in this midfield. I don't think they really need to get another midfielder, and especially burn an international spot because of this one. They just recently got Lewis O'Brien, and although it's not only on a short-term deal, if they don't extend his loan and they decide to put Gylfi Sigurdsson as his replacement, I think that's going to be a major downgrade to this DC team. Now, the Portland Timbers, they are also reported to set to sign Peruvian international center back Miguel Araujo from FC Iman, and I'm gonna say Araujo because until they decided to change the pronunciation again, which again I I get always confused with the pronunciation of that last name. I don't know why I know Luis Araujo is pronounced that because that's the Portuguese pronunciation, but I don't get why with the Orlando City fullback in Cesar Araujo. They pronounce it like that when that should be the Spanish this kind of pronunciation. But either way, with uh, that being said, looking at this signing, I think it's a good signing for the Timbers. I mean, he's a regular for the Peruvian national team, and knowing the fact that so far when you look at some of these players that play in MLS are Peruvian national team player, they have worked out pretty well. I mean, you look at yeah, even my team, the San Jose Earthquakes, getting a Peruvian player in Miguel Triaco. Done a great job for this Quakes team in that defensive row, and also let's also not to forget to mention about their starting goalkeeper Pedro Galese, one of the best goalkeeper in the league with Orlando City. So I think this would work out well for the Timbers too, and especially they're just down so many players on that team, and just this squad is just so thin, especially at the back line. I think he will really boost the back line for the Timbers that desperately need some help in that spot. Now, Toronto FC, they have named Jason Hernandez as their new GM. Now, this is a guy that used to work for NYCFC, so TFC would hope that he can replicate that good success that he had with NYCFC now with Toronto FC, because I know that this fan base is kind of restless in terms of some of the decision, even higher up in the ranks of uh, of making decision of the front office that has clearly not worked out in the past couple of years. And I think for Jason Hernandez, there's gonna be that pressure because this fan base wants somebody that can actually build a decent team and get themselves back to being a regular contender in the Eastern Conference like they were a couple of years ago. So we'll see whether or not if that's gonna happen. And then MLS, of course, have unveiled the Captain America theme tops. Now, again, I don't have my. Well, actually, I do have my phone right here. I was wondering where did I put my phone here, but they did uh release the Captain America theme top, and they also have a match ball that is on sale on the league website, and it's kind of what I expected. This, of course, is the theme top, the one that Ali Bedoya is wearing right now, and yeah, I'm just revert what I said about this in the last News of the Week episode when this was leaked. It's not really good. Like it's not really good unless you are a huge Captain America fan. I mean, it looks kind of mediocre at best, and that's kind of sums up in terms of Adidas and how they design jerseys for MLS team. I mean, I will say that Adidas has done a much better job in terms of designing primary kit or secondary kit for teams, but in terms of designing just kind of special theme jerseys, oh man, it has been a lot to left desire, and this is just a latest example of an MLS theme jersey that's designed by Adidas that just has not worked whatsoever. I mean, I get the idea of what they're trying to do, but I mean, if you look at it like if you look at it long enough, I won't be surprised your eyes might start to really hurt because of just weird patterns that is being put here. That is, but anyway, moving on in terms of the next news. So there is news suggesting that there could be as much as four Cuban players that have already left the team following the Gold Cup match versus Guatemala. Now, obviously, this is not a big surprise because it's almost like a tradition. Every single Gold Cup that when Cuba comes to the U.S. to play in the Gold Cup, you're going to have a couple of players that is going to be defect to the United States. And I believe that's kind of the same case with the World Baseball Classic too. Whenever Cuba play in the U.S., you're going to have some defector that of course is going to come to the U.S. And obviously the most famous defector and the guy that kind of really started the trend is Ozzy Alonso. And I won't be surprised we're going to see. see these Cuban player that is also going to that actually also kind of helps the USL Championship because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of Cuban players that have been able to play in the USL Championship or even in USL League One and find a successful career of this. And to not really go too much into the politics kind of standpoint of why exactly this is happening. It's sad that this has to still be the case in the year 2023, but again, it's kind of like a tradition, and this is also where a lot of these USL Championship team and USL League One team, or even some MLS team might look into say, hey, maybe we might have a shot in terms of giving these player chances to play for our team because who knows, he could be like the next Ozzy Alonso, and have an incredible career for us in MLS. Now, speaking of MLS, Sacramento. Remember that team that was so close of coming to MLS? Well, they were announced as an MLS team, and then Ron Burkle decided to pull a fast one, and that ever since then, there's been no news about them potentially coming to MLS. Well, maybe until now, because their owner Kevin Eagle have said that there will be a plan that not only they're going to build their new stadium in 60 days, which I'm kind of surprised that he says that there will be a plan because isn't that stadium already planned? Like they already had the rendering of all that. But what is also interesting is that he says that stadium that they're going to plan to build down in the rail yards, it's going to be part of a bid in terms of trying to expand to MLS again. Now, obviously, I know this might be crazy to say, but I do think Sacramento is going to come to the league eventually. I mean, all jokes aside and all memes aside about how this team is how Don Gabber is secretly saying that he's not letting Sacramento in no matter what sort of circumstances. I think eventually they're going to come into the league, even though obviously I think and now a lot of Republic fans are probably don't really care if they come to MLS or not. In fact, I think they probably won't want their team to come to MLS because they've been screwed over so many times to a point where it's absolute their fan base are probably pissed off at MLS if they want to come into the league again and give them false hope. But yeah, this is kind of interesting. And again, I talked about expansion in MLS. I know we have just had the 30th team that's coming into the league in 2025, but it's not going to stop. Like, we're going to have 31, 32, and we can even go as far as 40 teams in the league in the near future. And I do think Sacramento is definitely one of those teams. I mean, I talked about it in my video a couple of weeks ago, talk about who is the potentially the next expansion team and beyond. Sacramento is definitely right up there, potentially being the next team. Now, sticking in closer to my area, in the Bay Area. So this is a very interesting news that I found, where it seems like the three big city, San Francisco, Oakland, and San Jose, is pursuing to be the Bay FC, the long-term hometown kind of team. Now, this is kind of a weird way they phrase it. Basically, they're basically saying that yeah, we're going to act like that team is basically going to be exclusively on our team, and we have like the rights of the territorial rights for that team. Which again, it's kind of weird to phrase it and say it like that. But I do think that there despite there is talks of all three of those cities are really interested that they want to make sure that this is actually their team. I think at the end of the day, it's kind of kind of interesting to say it, and also I think at the end of the day, it's pretty clear Bay FC is going to be playing at PayPal Park, and they're going to be more act as the team that belongs to the Quakes, and that's the NWSL team because the Quakes, when they Bay FC expanded into NWSL, the Quakes play a big part of that too, and also the ownership group at the same sort. So as much as I know these cities are fighting for those territorial rights and want to claim that they are actually their city, or the hometown, and say I don't think it's going to be a case to a point where this is gonna be a team that is gonna be based in San Jose, and it's also kind of I feel like it's kind of a little ridiculous in terms of talk about we're gonna call this the hometown team when why can't we just say that this is the hometown team for all three of these big city. I mean, it's called Bay FC for a reason. It represents the Bay area, which is something that I wish the Quakes could have done. I mean, imagine the San Jose Earthquakes actually don't just care about San Jose. I mean, I know it's in its name, but actually expand it into the market and market in most of the Bay Area. I don't think this team would be a team that would be struggling in terms of attendance, and also won't have a cheap owner like John Fisher still running this team. There probably would have been interest in other investor in the Bay Area that could have took over this team and really get this team to be a contender in MLS for the future beyond. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys do like, smash the subscribe button. As always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of these news, and if there's any news I didn't mention here on the board, let me know in the comments as always. But until then, hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, make sure you guys do like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.